Welcome, BestGo teammates, to this month's training on hearing conservation. I'm Jake Wolfenden, and I will be your audible guide through this training. Listen up, because this is a critical training that will directly affect the outcome of your ability to hear, both now and in the years to come. What I want you to understand about hearing loss is that there is no turning back. There is no cure. Once you lose your hearing, there is no way to get it back. It cannot be reversed. I hope you sense the repetitive message I'm intentionally trying to make here, because it's a big deal when you lose even partial hearing. As you all are very well aware, OSHA is the organization that enforces the safety standards on what levels of potentially hazardous exposures are considered healthy and allowable. Through organizations like the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, or NIOSH, that conduct loads of research, they ultimately make the determination as to what noise levels are safe, as well as the amount of time you're safe to be around those levels. According to the stats, approximately 30 million US workers are exposed to harmful and hazardous levels of noise, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics states that about 125,000 US workers have reported either significant or permanent hearing loss in the past 10 to 12 years. That's 125,000 people that have lost their ability to hear. Now, I want you to think about what this looks like, and more literally, what this sounds like. Imagine the world you experience now, where you enjoy conversation, simple communication with your kids and loved ones, playing your favorite music, seeing your favorite bands in concert, watching your favorite movie, calling a friend on the phone to talk through some personal struggles, or even sharing a special moment. Now imagine that outside world, the vast expanse of the many elements we just discussed, shrinking in to just your thoughts, just the sound of your own internal voice and dialogue, maybe some muffled noises of those around you, a constant steady ringing in your ears. Imagine headaches that don't go away because of that constant ringing, the frustration of not being able to communicate simple things to your loved ones and friends, the anxiety associated with a world that was once wide and expansive is now so shrunken into a world that's only within an arm's reach. That is how these newly damaged 125,000 people feel every single day. It's a miserable experience, and the reality of this, that they can never get this hearing back, is hard to grasp. Unlike many other parts of the body that heal over time, unfortunately, our ears will never have this capability. So coming back to OSHA and the research that's been done, I want you to leave this training with a realistic perspective of what's safe and what's unsafe. Not a bunch of numbers and figures thrown at you, but real scientific data that can be practically applied to the things you do at work, but also the things you do as a hobby or at home. The number you need to remember is 85. Any noises that average over 85 decibels during an 8-hour period will require you to be in a hearing conservation program. This program has several requirements, including annual hearing tests to ensure your baseline hearing has not been made worse because of the workplace, PPE requirements, and other detailed expectations. Now, if you've been tested over an 8, 10, or 12-hour shift, and the data shows you are under the 85 decibels over your shift length, and while working under normal work conditions, your specific job role would not require you to be in the hearing conservation program. Now, this does not mean that you don't have to wear hearing protection in loud or noisy areas. In fact, OSHA has a chart that you can reference called the G16 scale, which shows what decibel levels you're allowed to be exposed to before needing hearing protection. But as soon as some of those time-weighted averages are crossed, hearing protection is definitely required. And quite honestly, depending on the variabilities of your job and the location of that job, it's a best practice to wear hearing protection in loud areas regardless of the allowable limits. Now, take a second, reach into your pocket and grab your cell phone. Download a free noise meter on the App Store, and voila, you have a pretty accurate decimeter that can read how loud your various work environments and tools or equipment can be. It's not going to be scientifically accurate, it's not calibrated, but they are fairly accurate for little snapshots in time. They're also not capturing the 8, 10, or 12-hour time-weighted average, which is what matters most. The realistic picture of what you're exposed to at most work days and throughout the duration of that workday. You also need to realize that with approximately every 2 to 3 decibels, you must start cutting that exposure time down by hours at a time. So that means a noise level of 90 decibels is only safe for up to 8 hours. 92 decibels goes down to 6 hours. 95 decibels down to 4 hours, 97 decibels down to 3 hours, 100 decibels is 2, 102 decibels is 1.5 hours, 105 decibels is 1 hour, 110 decibels is safe for 30 minutes, and 115 is safe for 15 minutes or less. Now, when I use the word safe, let me say that in no way am I insinuating you should be going into these loud environments for these allotted times just because you technically can. You should always wear hearing protection at these levels because your time around them could vary greatly from one day to the next. So look, we've talked about the numbers. Let's incorporate these numbers into everyday practical knowledge. Here are some common job functions within BESCO as well as the construction industry, as well as at home and in recreational activities. So at home, the use of an electric shaver is anywhere from 50 to 80 decibels. A hair dryer is up to 95 decibels. A garbage disposal is up to 95 decibels as well. A crying baby, 110 decibels. The dog's squeaky toy, 135 decibels, which by the way is one of the reasons why I hate those things. Now, let's talk about some common recreational activities, like riding a motorcycle averages about 100 decibels. A dance club, for all of you wild and crazy folks out there, is about 110 decibels. The average rock or country concert is 120 decibels, and a cheering stadium is about 130 decibels. Now, remember the numbers we just discussed. Our safety zone for 8 hours is 90 decibels and under. That means the rock or country concert we just talked about will begin to cause almost immediate hearing damage, depending on your relation to the speakers and sound system. That's pretty crazy to think, but also think about how many times you've left a concert and had that ringing in your ears. Have you ever had that? That is hearing damage. Sometimes you even hear the ringing the very next day. By the way, for you hunters and gun enthusiasts, a shotgun or rifle, 170 decibels. Talk about a major need for hearing protection. Now, let's switch gears and bring it back to the work environment. Several of you are taking the equipment you work around for granted and not realizing the amount of sound some tools and equipment put out. Here are a few examples. Now, the average iron worker deals with an average of 91 decibels throughout their workday. One simple example is laying a metal deck, which is about 99.6 decibels. We'd round up to 100 on that. An impact wrench is about 110 decibels. A handsaw, 85 decibels. A gas-powered forklift, 90 decibels. Electric drill, 95 decibels. Power saw, 110 decibels. What about a jackhammer or chop saw? 130 decibels. That's immediate hearing damage without hearing protection. So, what can you do to protect yourself? First off, get fitted for the right hearing protection, and then very simply, wear it. You basically have two main options, in-ear or earmuff, aka over-ear protection. There are so many great products out there that are available. Just thinking back to the ranges of decibels I presented to you, I've shown that reducing the decibel amount, even just 3 to 6 decibels, could majorly impact and literally double or triple the amount of exposure time you could have with a particular noise exposure. Check the noise reduction rating of your hearing protection manufacturer to ensure the decibel levels you're exposed to are still safe even with hearing protection. So the normal noise reduction rating is about 26. So that means you then have to subtract 7 decibels from the known decibel rating to account for variance. And then you have a total of about 19 decibel reduction. In other words, if your average workday shows you being at 91 decibels, as we discussed a bit ago, and your hearing protection allows for a reduction of 19 decibels, you would now be exposed to a much safer 72 decibels with this protection. Okay. So wrapping up here, I want to quickly go back to the sad and harsh realities of noise hazards. There's something you all need to be aware of, and that is tinnitus, which is the diagnosed ringing in your ears. It is not the same as hearing loss, but it is hearing damage. It's not typically just a little ringing in the ears either. For nearly 50 million Americans that have tinnitus, over 12 million report major anxiety, depression, and other issues as a direct result of this condition. Remember that picture I painted you early on, that feeling of a vast, expansive, beautiful world that has shrunk down to only include a constant ringing in your head and the likely arm's length distance by which you can communicate? Yeah, that's why you need to wear your hearing protection. If you can hear this video, consider yourself blessed and take action before the damage is irreversible or even more damage is done if you already experienced some of these damaging traits. And with that, for the BESCO Safety Team, I'm Jake Wolfenden, and it's a pleasure to work with this group. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for taking the time to improve your personal safety. That's what we want for you, only the best. I will be seeing you next month, but hope to hear from you before then with any questions or feedback you may have. I will see you in the next one.